a Playlyst original.
Welcome to the Pilot Podcast,
where we review the pilot episodes of TV shows to answer your question, should I watch this?
My name is Mitu.
And my name is BJ.
And this week, we're watching A Good Girl's Guide to Murder on Netflix.
So stay tuned to find out if Mitu wanted to be a teenage sleuth.
Whoa. Okay. Well, let's stay tuned for that big reveal.
Okay. Before that, how about you tell us about Pip, who is a teenage sleuth?
Can do. Based on the YA novel of the same name, this series follows Pip, played by Emma Myers, who does not believe a local schoolgirl was killed by her own boyfriend 5 years ago. So she takes matters into her own hands and decides to solve the murder for her EPQ, which I learned after going on Wikipedia is like a national qualifying assignment for kids in the UK.
Yes, her extended project qualification for university.
Yes.
So I will say, I think the title is a little misleading. Pip is definitely a good girl. She doesn't want to help her friends break some rules, but she's also willing to push some boundaries as she dives deeper into this investigation.
When I initially clicked on the show, I thought it would be about dogs because when I think about a good girl, I think about, my dog. She knows how to sit, how to stay. And then we go, good girl. I have not really considered that a phrase to use for humans.
Okay.
But setting aside the initial surprise, and I recognize that it is an extremely popular YA book, apparently. So my apologies to the good girls out there, the good girl hive.
Mm-hmm.
But I really liked Pip as a lead. My overall impression of the show is that it's like a pretty solid entry into this genre of precocious young girl solves crime or attempts to solve crime, especially when everyone in the town believes X happened, but she knows that that's fishy, and so she's searching for a reason why that it could have happened. And I think that specifically Emma Myers is so lovely in this role that that's what helps the show stand out a bit more, that Pip is just such a fun lead.
Yes, this is a crowded genre. Teenage girl picks up a cold case and will figure out something that the detectives missed or the police missed. And I think in order to stand out, you need a lead who has an interesting hook or an interesting angle. And Pip offers a nice personality. She's likable. And she has a really interesting connection to this murder because she saw the victim, Andy, shortly before she was murdered.
A very interesting connection indeed. And I like that she is developing a connection with someone else who is connected, let's see how many times we can use this word, to the case, Ravi, played by Zayn Iqbal, who is the brother of the character who the town believes killed Andy.
Yes. So Pip specifically is not afraid to involve all of these people who have really sensitive feelings about the case, because obviously some people are upset about how it was handled, who was involved, who's allegedly involved. And that's where I think Pip is not so much of a good girl, because she ignores some people's feelings to get information, and she records people. I know she does it openly with consent, but I feel like some of these conversations should not have been recorded.
I mean, she's putting the recorder right in front of them and they're continuing to open their mouths and sing. So it is not really on her, that part. So maybe in that case, she gets to still be a good girl, still a wild phrase coming out of my mouth to describe a human. But I like that the mystery is mysterious. For me, as someone who watches a lot of shows like this, enjoys a lot of books like this, the reason the genre is crowded is because it's popular. And for me and tons of other people, it's very fun. So as someone who has taken in a lot of this stuff, I could tell immediately that the person that was accused of the murder, Sal, didn't do it. I thought they actually made it pretty clear, and I thought that deepened the mystery for me, that the guy that everyone assumes did it for sure didn't do it. So now we need to figure out who done it.
Yes, I think that was smart to kind of set it up pretty quickly, especially by the end of this first episode, that there is a lot more to the case than what is being put out in the public, and that there is something for Pip to look into to figure out.
Yes. And I think setting it in this tiny town is very smart too, because everyone knows everyone. There's a scene in the beginning, this is a very light spoiler, where she and her friends rob a store, I guess, or they just pickpocket.
They want to buy a beer with a fake ID.
Okay, they wanted to do a bad thing in a store. And immediately the shopkeep called Pip by her first, middle, and last name to be like, girl, do not do this. And so clearly you're not getting away with much if people know your full government around the town. And as she does these interviews, I think there's such an interesting potential for secrets to be revealed, whether or not they are related to the core murder case. Because in a town like this where everybody knows everybody, that means everybody knows everybody. So there are just some secrets to come to the surface now.
Lots of secrets. And I like that this murder happened 5 years prior to the pilot episode. And so we're also seeing how people have changed. And there's like not a full generation, but there's an age gap between Pip and Andy and her classmates. So we're finding out that Pip's friends' siblings knew Andy. So she has to question people her age, question people from like the grades 5 years above her, and question people in this small town.
That's interesting too, because then you have opportunities for things to become clearer in hindsight. We see a little bit of that in this first episode, how two in that group of older friends are remembering or not remembering the events of that evening and how it's affected them. And it's clear one went in one direction and one went in the other.
And which direction do we think it really went?
So many mysteries afoot.
What do you think of her detective skills? She does a little bit of a cliche wall that she's making in her bedroom.
Yes.
Taking pictures from Instagram and printing them out, writing dates and times.
Honestly, that's girlhood, because there is something so specifically, I remember this about my own youth, of writing everything down as pretty as possible in my notebook or my whiteboard, whether it needed to be written or not, just for the satisfaction of then like crossing it off or checking it off or whatever. And so it just very much felt like that to me, but with a murder case, not like English class notes.
You know, presentation matters. And at the end of the day, this is also a school assignment.
You want to ace your EPQ or whatever it is that y'all do across the pond.
And it's great that acing an EPQ also means solving a murder. Win-win.
Exactly. With that, do you think it is a win-win-win for you as the viewer to keep watching A Good Girl's Guide to Murder on Netflix?
I do. I would watch again, seriously. I think this will be a fun miniseries. I believe it's only 6 episodes. It will cover the entire novel. Even though I've read in interviews, the producers or directors want to do more seasons for follow-up books. They said that this will have a satisfying, real ending. And that encourages me to see where this takes Pip. How do you feel?
I'm honestly so glad to hear you say that, because one thing that has burned me is especially something about UK stories on Netflix. They always are miniseries. They always end on a cliffhanger, and then you don't get more stories. So I'm so glad that you've comforted me with the knowledge that there will be a satisfying ending. With that, I will also keep watching. I think if you're Mystery Hive, especially Cozy Mystery Hive, if you even know what a cozy mystery is, then I think you will enjoy watching this show. And my strong suspicion is that this first episode sort of brings you into the world, but isn't necessarily explosive, because the expectation is likely that they think that we'll watch this in a day or two in just 1 or 2 sittings. And
Mhm.
that's how I intend to watch it. I think that'll be the most satisfying way to watch it. And that's what I would recommend to other Mystery Hive folks. This show also makes me want to plug another mystery rewatched, which I think was fantastic in this genre and such a standout, which is Diara from Detroit on BET Plus.
Ooh, yeah.
That was so good all the way through, especially the pilot.
Is that getting a season 2?
I'm not sure.
So probably not.
We'll see. I hope so.
Okay, well, Mitu, when you were a teen, when you were a youth,
Mm-hmm.
when you were a good girl, some might
Yikes.
say.
A Ute Dem, as they would say in the UK. I'm so sorry to our UK listeners. I take it back. I'm so sorry.
Back to the point. Did you want to solve mysteries?
No, I did not want to solve mysteries.
Really? All the books and shows you watched, you never wanted to try it yourself?
No, I would never want to put myself in danger. I did absolutely love Nancy Drew, especially. I read all the old school Nancy Drews, especially the ones with the yellow hardbook covers. Real Hive knows what I'm talking about. But then they made new versions where she's in a more modern era. I ate those up as well. So I loved Nancy Drew. I did dip my toe into the Hardy Boys books as well, and I enjoyed those. So I loved a mystery story even from youth.
Right.
But did I want to, let's say, come across a dead body and then figure out what happened to that person? No, I did not. I did not hold that desire.
You do give side character energy in a Nancy Drew story. You're the classmate that doesn't want to be involved, but you were in the room and you've heard too much, and now you're stuck.
I wouldn't even be that, BJ, because I would have to be the side character of a side character. I would be the side character where everything's done, and they go, this is what happened, and I go, nuh-uh, and that's my whole contribution to the book.
So you're just someone who lives in the town.
Yeah.
It's like, y'all solved something? I had no idea.
That would be everything I say. Wowza.
Okay, I just have to be the chaotic friend who pulls you in. I come over, I'm like, me too. Guess what Nancy just told me? There was a murder down the street, and she thinks you can help solve it. I gave her your phone number, your email address, and I invited her over so we can all discuss this murder.
Y'all think BJ is playing jokey improv right now, but he'd really do this to me. You would drag me out of that house. I'd make myself so heavy. I would just try to settle into the ground, and you'd yank me out to go do stuff.
Or I'd invite you somewhere like, you want to grab lunch? Oh, I also invited Nancy Drew. She has something she wants to tell us.
That's actually exactly something you would do.
We are getting lunch, though, so didn't lie.
Now I'm a little nervous about our plans next Thursday, really hoping that they are what we say they're going to be.
I've never tried to solve a murder mystery.
Okay, well, let's keep
I don't
it
have
that way.
time for that.
What you have solved the mystery of is whether a show is worth watching by checking out the pilot.
Yes, and we do that all on our website, thepilotpodcast.com, and in your favorite podcast feed and your favorite podcast app.
You can also follow us on social media at The Pilot Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and X. And you can send thoughts, feelings, show recommendations, because every other week, just like this one, we do a show recommended by you, our wonderful listeners, to askthepilotpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
Bye.